Take risk?
Hmm.
You mean the Japanese company? What do you mean?
They don't take risk. So basically, what you said,
No, they don't take risk.
They don't take risk because actually different.
Force them to make agreement.
For international partnership, they are actually very they're very komakai according to Takashi-san.
Or Japanese company.
Yes.
Force them to make agreement.
Yes.
Otherwise, they don't make contract.
They don't make a contract.
Okay.
So it's actually the business culture outside of Japan is perceived to be different, which is correct. It is different.
It means very difficult to make contract with.
It is very difficult.
Company.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of companies will feel that maybe I don't want to do business with the Japanese side, but there are companies who feel okay, in spite of all the strict rules, etc. For me, the relationship, for me, the contract is so important that I'm willing to say yes to everything that they ask.
Really?
It seems like that. Well, it makes sense because I would not. Actually, now I'm thinking. Okay, so how detailed would
depending on what kind of product we are going to sell into foreigners. Why?
Because, like, for example, if we would have been, if the Toshiba would have been very komakai in their contracts with Westinghouse, for example, they would not have run into all these problems. So what happened there? Actually, if the general business attitude is okay, we don't accept any risk and we only negotiate with accommodative counterparts, I'm sure that given that the way the Westinghouse deal worked out for Toshiba, that they did not have a very detailed contract and not a lot of due diligence when negotiating the contract. So either the business proposal of Westinghouse was extremely good.
Sure, they did a very detailed contract they made, is it?
But if they did, how come that all the losses that were incurred and all the contractual agreements that were made by Westinghouse were taken over one-on-one by Toshiba? And actually that turned out to be extremely risky.
I think this is the Takashi is right. Toshiba is the same. Any Japanese company try to make very detailed contract with counterpart company.
But that only works.
But just I tell you, but they based on detailed tactical contract. But they forget strategically, some missing point they made, which is Toshiba make commitment of Chinese, nuclear power plant commitment for the case of some kind of deficiency. This is only one point they're missing. That's they fail. This is strategically aspect. They made very detailed contract, but one big issue is missing. This is my observation.
I don't know how detailed they're.
Otherwise, I can't believe that. Just Takashi said, Japanese very carefully try to make contract, any case. Okay? And for foreigners, very detailed, but no compromise. But final result, okay, they missed big hole in the contract,
so
at the strategical level.
How could they have agreed to basically follow all the arrangements that were made by
of course they hired famous Japanese lawyers to make contract, but I don't know why the kind of big effort miss contract they made, but they forget to most important issue.
Hmm.
But I don't know the background, why they're going to happen kind of things. But Takashi said, I agree with that. Japanese people very conservative to try to avoid risk for the kind of purchasing company.
Must be. Must be. I cannot believe that they would, or the opportunity to buy Westinghouse was so attractive at that time that they rushed the deal and said, okay, well, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. If we can buy Westinghouse, we can actually guarantee, because Westinghouse was sitting on a new way of producing nuclear power plants, which was, and they had a lot of deals, so it was an operation that was profitable when they got in, and it was a new kind of way to build a nuclear power plant that was more cost effective than the way that Toshiba had been doing it thus far.
Maybe they never thought that kind of pitfall will happen after merger. And so this is, I think, negotiation skill, like kind of they also prepared kind of detailed list.
But it's unbelievable, because actually if you look at what's happening with those nuclear power plants, basically it's one-sided. Like if the government of that country where the power plant is built decides, okay, we are going to raise the safety standards on nuclear power plants during its construction time,
okay,
they need to comply.
Okay, but we don't know that why this kind of problem they happen. Okay, but Takashi said, I think I agree with him. Japanese company very conservative, not any kind of pitfall happening under the contract. And also, for example, I guess, and Westinghouse said to the Toshiba, okay, this is Chinese government commitment, right? Chinese government commitment for this contract. So you don't need to follow in the case of problem that happen in the future. But this typically Chinese always happening. Japanese never make commitment, even if they put on the commitment later. But Toshiba failed to just maybe some people caution to Toshiba to not do that. But Toshiba is Westinghouse so enchantment or what is so they're willing to make contract, so they forget to do that. But actually, government contract itself might be useless at final result.
Well, at that time, also we should not forget that actually Westinghouse was indeed, it looked very good on paper. So they probably a more competitive negotiation.
Yeah. So true story, but I don't know. But behind the scene, but make a contract, they are fully
cautious.
Yeah.
Normally cautious.
Yes, and they fully perfect contract.
But it seemed to me like a lot of corpses fell out of the closet. That's that's an expression. So a lot of things that have been hidden, that have not been inspected before they actually.
Exactly, not hidden point. They do not have, but actually Westinghouse they told Toshiba it's a government commitment is made, so you don't need to worry about it. But actually, government said, okay, we don't have any.
We're going to change the rules. Actually, it was not China. It was the
Chinese typical cases.
But the biggest problems were in the United States.
Betrayed.
The biggest problems were in the United States. Two contracts in the United States where the government regulation changed during construction, and they really needed to completely revise their plans.
Because this is just
huge cost overruns.
Of course, Toshiba and Westinghouse made a contract, right?
Right.
And but actually the agreement, but later on the contract sentences, the Chinese government betrayed. No way. Right? Japanese Toshiba, who's going to sue whom? But this is Chinese government committed. But Chinese government always change their mind.
It was not Chinese that made the biggest problem. It was America.
My guess, okay, my guess.
America.
I don't think so.
Yeah, America.
Really?
Yeah, the big overruns.
They conceal something.
Yeah. So no, actually, I think Westinghouse was sitting on a lot of risks, and they concealed it. Westinghouse concealed it, and then because in the contract were all kinds of provisions.
Oh, they
were made.
conceal something.
Yeah, because actually it was actually
Oh,
contractual.
this is happening. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I understand. British and American like it.
Right.
Kind of
Yeah.
conceal something.
So they had provisions in the contract that they had to supply, they had to deliver their nuclear power plants in line with government regulation. But even if government regulation would change during the construction, then Westinghouse needed to adjust.
Ah, okay, maybe.
So that led to huge cost overruns.
Oh, maybe. But I don't know that true story behind the scenes. But anyway, Japanese company itself, very carefully make contract.
Yeah, well, I believe that. Because we are so risk averse.
And Japanese always trust counterpart, and Chinese government always trust them. This is a problem.
Really?
Yeah.
They trust them? They don't trust anyone.
No, Japanese people trust everybody.
Really?
Yeah.
Takai-san, what is your opinion? Japanese people trust everyone? I don't think it 1 second.
I'm sorry?
So Uno-san says that the Japanese trust everyone. I don't think so. I actually believe that you don't trust anyone.
That's the reason why I try to teach Sun Tzu Art of War.
Oh.
Japanese don't have a culture, kind of, consider for how to betray them, how to lie them. We don't have culture.
But why are we so komakai when it comes to making contracts with foreigners and not when we're doing business with...
This is based upon conservative.
Right, but because we don't trust them.
No, trust them.
Then why do we need to make such a komakai contract if we don't have that
this
culture?
This is conservative.
Yeah, so, but conservative, that comes from risk aversion, the show. Conservative...
okay, of course, the Japanese company doubt them.
They doubt them, yeah, so they don't trust them.
Yeah, so the point that Uno-san mentioned before, as Uno-san mentioned before, the Japanese don't trust too much. Japanese trust too much. So once they trust someone, it is too much.
They trust too much.
They trust too much, don't trust too much.
So they are black and white, not gray?
Right.
Oh, really?
Well, they don't understand what is to trust.
ちょっとありえない。
Okay.
So that's beyond that.
No, okay, just don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Trust is this is different from trust relationship. Japanese people, trust the counterpart people. It means trust what they're saying. Trust what they propose their contract.
Or they believe.
It means not trust, believe. Okay, believe. And Japanese very honest to get the information from counterpart people, and they believe them. But many cases they have some intentional, something behind scene, and the Japanese cannot recognize what's the risks, what's problem behind the scene. Not trust, I just misunderstanding. This is kind of sort of thing that I wanted to say. Okay, so for example, you're going to offer something, and I believe what you said, but this is you have some secret intention behind. But Japanese people usually they cannot guess, or they cannot consider for the something behind scene. But Westerners they understand what's something wrong behind scene, but Japanese they do not. Right? Do you agree?
Possible, but maybe that makes them so risk averse because they
Kind
know
honest. Sincerity. Japanese has they do not have a custom to tell a lie, right?
They don't have double bottom.
Double bottom. So that's right. So they do not understand. You have double bottom. That's the reason I try to much more emphasize on you should study songs of art of war. Songs of art of war. Art of war is lots of lies, lying, lots of how to manipulate the enemy and the counterpart. But Japanese, we don't have a kind of history, a kind of concept or thought. We don't have it. Right? So we make contract with Westinghouse. The same thing happened. Japanese cannot doubt behind the scene. Right? So if contract person is non-Japanese people, maybe recognize something wrong behind the scene, but Japanese management cannot do not understand what's going to happen in future. And this is what area, but I don't know. But my guess.
So that's why they try to make as many contractual agreements and as many because they perceive, maybe they feel it and they perceive that risk, not understanding, not being able to trust, because we don't know exactly what to trust and what not to trust, and you can never be certain that somebody is lying or not. That's why they become very strict in their contractual requirements.
And the contract requirement that Takashi mentioned is this is another issue we need to consider. This is Japanese side, data, but Japanese company do not consider for counterpart side. It means selfish contract.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of force them to make agreement. This is called another issue. We need to consider, like a technology, everything else.
Right. So it's not based on a partnership. It's basically we want to ask our risks.
No compromise.
If we have unacceptable risk, we will not do it.
This is what you mentioned, like a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Let's try to moving on the next step, next phase.
Okay.
Take a break.
Yeah. Okay.
By the way, I think this one is next week. You try to change your aspect from how to persuade Japanese people what is negotiation skill. And if you're going to keep negotiation skill, if you don't study negotiation skill, we're going to get lost profit. You're going to get risk sort of aspect we want to discuss next week.
It's actually maybe interesting also to have a look at what kind of deals we can see that were made and that were successful and were not successful, and why.
Okay, this aspect the same, may probably same for me. That's the reason why I fall asleep.
No, you fell asleep because you didn't sleep last night.
Not only that, but also just different Japanese people difficult.